So, as we know, the Rainbow Six story is, well, not particularly cohesive. And with the latest revelations that the death of Harry at the perceived hands of an audience insert, things have gotten a bit, well, shit, let's say. You know, how do you truly come to terms with the fact that these redacted, classified identities of Tier 1 operators around the world are showing their faces on live TV for that you're braying masses to enjoy in a stadium show? You can't. It doesn't make sense. We're not doing it. You know, don't get me wrong, those cinematics were pretty fire, but for the purpose of a Tom Clancy game, I think I can do a little bit better. Now, I watched this video by a guy called Lufa, and it was called The Worst Law in Modern Gaming, and he's completely correct. And it inspired me to put my own little sort of a little chef's kiss on it, and, you know, take my own shot in the dark. Now, I don't think this was down to the people in the story team. I feel like some fat cat publisher came in, and for some reason, I'm going to make it from Louisiana, because I've only got so many voices. So I've been hearing my investor meetings the different ways in which we can capitalise on the esports, on the Segas and the Nintendos. I don't know why his voice changed there. And then, you know, he's like, make it happen, make it work. And they're like, you know, how are we going to turn a game about classified operators and black site actions into an esports that's integral? And he's like, I don't give a shit what you say. Just make it happen. And he stubs it, you know, puts his scar out on the lead dev's head and just fucks off. Goes golfing, you know. Whew. And they did their best, honestly. You know, the cinematics are great. Sort of, it builds a good atmosphere, but again, it just doesn't work. So, if me, personally, was given the pen, I would do it a little bit something like this. But first, a history lesson. September 2005, Basra, Iraq. 2 members of the British SAS are captured after a shootout where they were discovered by local police, doing like local surveillance. And they were literally wearing blackface, according to one of the reports, because, you know, they stuck on the fake tan. Because otherwise, you see 2 pasty British lads walking around, you're going to notice them pretty quick. And they were taken, beaten, and removed to a police station. Now, the problem with this is that the coalition intelligence believed that this guy who was running the police station, and perhaps a lot of the policemen as well, were working directly with one of the insurgent groups. And this particular insurgent group had been very, well, trigger happy in regards to how they treated their prisoners. With a lot of different personnel, whether they be journalists, you know, doctors, or other covert agents, soldiers, they were all executed. So the British SAS, who were based in the area, were like, right, we have to go get our boys out now. They were getting ready, they put the strap on, they pulled the van up like, you know, Good Kid, Bad City. They're ready to spin the block, as it was. And they get told no. And I'm going to make him Captain Price for some reason. And he's like, all right, boys, we've got to get ready and conduct this mission. Get the watermelons ready.
Knife the watermelon. Nice. Your fruit-killing skills are remarkable.
And they got told by probably a bureaucrat. He was like, look, old chap, you know, about rescuing your boys. You know, we thought we'd take a more diplomatic approach. Okay, thank you, bye, fuck you. And they were like, well, they're going to kill him. We're on the clock. So at risk of court-martial, they got in that van, they went hunting for ops, and they found the ops at the police station. They drove a fucking tank through the wall, like, hey, what's up, it's me, your boy. And they raided it. And they couldn't find the 2 guys, they'd already been moved. And after what was described in the report as interrogation techniques, you know, I think you can figure that out. They found that they'd been taken to a local compound, which they hit, and then they rescued the boys. Got them out, all good. Didn't really say how many people got smoked in the process, but that wasn't really the concern, was it? Now, they were then given post-authorization. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. But they were worried that even though that this mission was an absolute success, that it would cause a big problem in the Special Forces community. Because, you know, if you go and punish, because you'd have to punish like a whole battalion. You know, there was 20 SAS operators, 40 of the parachute regiment that were attached, and a whole mechanized unit. And you can't court-martial all of them. So they just let it slide. They were like, don't do it again, old chap. And they were like, fuck you. And that was what happened. No one faced punishment, and they got the guys out alive. But it shows how it could have gone. That those two would have almost certainly been beheaded on TV. And that puts into perspective one of the things that we need to really consider, and that's the concept of authorization. History lesson number 2. Now, this might take some of you a little bit by surprise. SEAL Team 6 did not kill Osama bin Laden. Now, I know what you're thinking. What you saying, boy? What they kill bin Laden? The CIA killed Osama bin Laden. And what I mean by this is that the Navy SEALs were on the operation. The members were a part of the operation, but they were not a part of the Navy SEALs at that time. Once they got on that helicopter, they were not Navy SEALs. They were working under the paramilitary group of the CIA. When Pakistan went over and they saw this compound in absolute ruins, and they were like, picked up the phone. They were like, hey, US, did you just conduct a secretive mission on our soil? And the US was like, us? Me? Would I do such a thing? Ooh. They did. And Pakistan, legally speaking, couldn't do shit about it. More or less. But because it was bin Laden they killed, they just said, you know what? We killed bin Laden. Fuck it. Plausible deniability. These operations take place everywhere, all over the world, at any one time. We just don't know about them. So, how would Rainbow Six as a unit, Team Rainbow, operate in real life? And the answer is that it would be a colossal shit show. Now, if you imagine the amount of political disagreements and fingers in pies across the world in various organizations that would fall under Team Rainbow's remit to go after, it would be a nightmare. But if you imagine the amount of moving parts of all of these different special forces, it kind of shows like how kind of unrealistic the idea of Team Rainbow is in the sense of an active fighting force. They're kind of more of a figurehead, like sort of a notion of peace between these countries, China, Russia, US, Britain, France, Germany, you name it. The bit that makes most sense about Team Rainbow is their search and rescue unit, because they can be deployed anywhere in the world and no one would really turn them away. Truly, they're the real Team Rainbow, in my opinion. So I want to talk about that, the way that this sort of how it would work in a realistic sense and how it affects the members individually. So with that being said, with the idea of plausible deniability and the idea of authorization, we're going to begin. Ash and Sam Fisher are in the Situation Room at Team Rainbow HQ, wherever that is. Let's just make it somewhere nice and sunny. And they summon the heads of the teams because it's absolute chaos. Thatcher turns up, Mira turns up, she's the head of R&D, Thatcher's the head of one of the teams, Kavera's there, and they're looking, and all they're seeing on these monitors is destruction, chaos, total annihilation. But these are places that have been on Team Rainbow's monitoring stations for weeks, if not months, not years. Maverick's extensive network of Middle Eastern spies, Sam Fisher's covert operations, Kavera's stealth operations in Latin America, you name it. All of these places have been hit, and they've been hit extremely hard. Now, the phone rings, and it's the CIA, and Ash answers, and she's like, hey, what's going on, dog? And they're like, what do you guys think you're playing at? There's no one in the world that could have conducted this operation except you guys. And then Ash is like, well, what about Nighthaven? They could have done it. And they're like, no, we know Nighthaven didn't do it because we had them working on another mission. And Ash is like, okay, great, thanks for telling us. But here's the issue. The FSB pick up the phone and they're like, hey, why did you just hit this? And they got these both phones going at the same time. The CIA saying, why did you hit our stuff? We thought we had an agreement. The FSB are like, why did you hit our stuff? We thought you had an agreement. Someone's going after places that have been written off by the bureaucracy of Rainbow Six Siege. Much to the frustration of every single member, there's organizations that they just can't go at. Because the people that fund them, the people that supply the members, the people that they need to conduct their operations have got their fingers in pies with politics. And that's the problem. Now, they're all sort of looking at each other thinking, what's going on? And Thatcher's like, what's his voice again? Fucking, there you go. Fucking laser sights. He's like, we've been tracking these places for months, and they've all been hit at the same time. What the fuck is going on? And Ash is like, oh, bollocks, what's going on? The CIA sends a cleanup team because they've got to get rid of all that evidence. And they come across some explosives. They come across some electronics equipment, and they send some of it to Team Rainbow for analysis. And they get sent this, and Mira gets to take a look at it. She opens this sort of explosive box, and she's having a look, and she's thinking, I reckon... Should I do a Mira voice? She's like, I don't reckon... No, fuck it. She's like, I recognise this work, but I can't quite place it. I think I know who, and it's one of us. So she sets up a little plan. She takes this piece of equipment, she puts it with a bunch of other equipment that needs to be fixed for a recent mission. Now, all of the tech people come down because it's time to get to work. You got Echo, Gridlock, Mute, IQ. They all come down and they're working away. And then Mira comes out. She's like, oh, I've got to get this. I've got to fix it up. We don't have the electronics, because this is like, top work. We need to reuse what we can. Echo's like, no, sorry, not my thing. Gridlock's like, no, the mechanical bits are fucked. But the electronics are salvageable. And she's like, all right, Mute, can you have a look at this? Can you fix it? And he's like, yeah, I can fix this, no problem. And within a couple minutes, he's reworked the motherboard. It's all working and it's flawless. And she's like, oh, so what blueprint did you say this was? And there's a silence. And he's like, I never said it was a blueprint. And then Monica Weiss, IQ, comes over. She's like, hey, what's going on? And Mira's like, can you just have a look at this? And she, whips out her little fucking iPad and, she clicks off her whatever she's looking at, like James Charles, whatever. And she looks at it and she's like, she's having a scan and she looks at Mute. And Mira's like, okay, Mute, this is Mute's work. So how did Mute's work get in the hands of this group that just hit a CIA site? Effectively local freedom fighters, aka a terrorist group they were funding, but because they were attacking their enemy for the time being, they're giving them money. And they find Mute's work there. Now Mira goes and reports this. Now eventually, word begins to creep down the vine. Maverick's connections in the Middle East, where a lot of these attacks have been happening all over the area, he's got a name. They're called the Reapers. The idea of sort of justice personified. These people have been going after everyone, whether it be criminal enterprise, cartels, terrorist group, laundering groups, extortionists, kidnappers, traffickers. Everyone's getting hit, and they're all completely dead. Not a single person's been left, and it's just been a mess of bodies. To such the extent that usually when these events happen, they can sort of suppress them. If there's a hostage situation, they could deal with it, get it done. Doesn't even make the news. No one notices unless it goes really, really wrong. That's impossible. These places have been hit in public. They've been hit, incredibly quick. But the problem is that their jamming system is so sophisticated that even local phones are unable to record these hits in broad daylight. It's just people in dark clothes killing people. But then people start to notice, like, hey, that's a famous terrorist. Hey, that's a criminal leader. That's a head of an Irish cartel. That's head of a Mexican cartel. Head of a massive, Asian cartel, Yakuza, Triad. It doesn't matter. Everyone is fair game. But here's the problem. No one knows who these people are. And the other problem is that not everyone's angry about it. Team Rainbow has been placed in lockdown. Until they know what's going on, people in the various sites around the world have been told to stay in position unless they're on active operations. If they're crawling in the middle of a jungle somewhere, you're not going to tell them to come home. They've got to do their mission. They've got to get out. Now, a lot of the people are at Team Rainbow HQ, much in the way of the search and rescue group. They're there. You've got the various team leads. They're there. It's mainly just fractured members that are off doing their own thing that can sort of operate independently, like Kaid at the Fortress, or, to an extent, Maverick when he goes out to do his stuff. Sam obviously does his stuff. Thatcher being Thatcher, he does what he wants. They're off all doing their thing. And when Thatcher comes in, everyone's sort of in the locker room. They're stuck with each other all day. They're starting, tensions are starting to mount as they're getting annoyed, being like, what's going on? Why are we not allowed to leave? This is bullshit. And it reaches the point where Thatcher comes in, he sits down, and what's his voice again? Fucking, there you go.
Fucking laser sights.
And he's just like, say what you want about these lads, but they get shit done. And that doesn't go down particularly well with our good friend Ash. Ash being, the leader of Team Rainbow, she's trying to keep things together. She doesn't want this sort of conversation going on. So she kind of shuts him down and she says, there's reason you have to go through these different loopholes. There has to be rules with who you go after. Because it's pretty clear that a lot of the locker room, a lot of the people that are sort of sitting around Team Rainbow are actually quite glad that this group are doing what they're doing. These are the people they're going after that they've never been able to touch. Capcan voices one such sort of support for this group. And he says that from where he's from, the epidemic of the opioid crisis, the idea of heroin coming up from Afghanistan, coming through China, has decimated his local area. The places that he's from, he's got friends dying all the time. People that he fought with when they were in the army together, they're dying from something like crocodile, which is like a horrific amalgamation of gasoline and heroin. Awful shit. Terrible. Literally eats your flesh. Won't put any pictures, don't worry. And he's like, they just hit a massive distribution plant coming through. I think it's like Uzbekistan. That's where they traffic it all. They said they hit it and they killed everyone. He's glad. Doc is like, there's this group operating out of South Sudan or Yemen, where it's the most dangerous place in the world to be an aid worker. Places where they'll kill foreign doctors just for teaching and using Western medicine. He says, I'm a doctor. It's killing, but these people will save tens of thousands of lives. And now that these guys are gone, they can operate properly. They can, expand their network. They can teach locals the basis of modern medicine. It's a good thing. And Castle is kind of annoyed. He's big, staunch Ash loyalist, and he's trying to sort of galvanize. And he's like, but he makes a big mistake. And he's like, well, if you like them so much, why don't you join them? And his friend Pulse says, maybe I will. And there's a big silence. And he looks at Castle and he says, how many times, Castle? How many times have we sat in that car? Sat in an observation post or in a van with microphones, cameras and surveillance gear? And how many times have we had to wait while we hear the sound of children crying? Because these are members of the FBI, and the FBI deal with some pretty gnarly shit. He says, while we wait for a fucking warrant, we listen to some of the worst things imaginable. We witness some of the worst things. Only to find out when we're ready to go that it's the son of a senator and we need to step down. Waiting for a warrant that will never come from a judge who's probably friends with that senator. And Castle goes quiet. He's right, and he knows he's right. He's like, how many times did we sit there and listen while some of the worst crimes imaginable took place? How many times did we sieve and talk to each other, whisper to each other what we would do if we could get our hands on any of these people? And he says, do you remember 2018? And Castle does. It's an operation they conducted together, and it was bad. But they never got permission. Something with the CIA, something with the FBI got in the way, and they never got permission. And he says, all of them are dead. The Reapers hit them yesterday. The people that snatched the kids off the street, the people that trafficked the kids, and even the people who received the children, they are all dead. And there's another silence. And Pulse is there, and he looks them dead in the eye. He says, the only thing that I regret is that I spent my times twiddling my fucking thumbs here when I could have spent there with them, watching their hearts stop through my sensor. Silence. Pulse stands up, he says, I quit, and he walks out. Ash tries to stop him, and she says, Castle, go after him. They know that they're tight. They know that they've been on so many operations together. She says, go after him, please. And he doesn't. He refuses. He's teetering on that board. He knows Pulse is right. And Thatcher stands up, he says, I got it. Sorry, fucking laser says, I got him. Goes after him. Off he goes. Now Ash gets a little bead in her ear after some time, and it's Sam, and she says, confirmed, mute. He's working for the Reapers. And not only that, but so's Monica Weiss, aka IQ. And both are immediately arrested. much to the dismay and anger of a lot of members of Team Rainbow, but they go quietly and they don't say a word. Other members say, come on, what's going on? Defend yourself. And they don't. They just stay quiet. Now, Ash contacts Thatcher and says, we need to move these people, but we don't want the powers that be to know that we've got people working with them. Because if that comes out to be true, then Team Rainbow is going to get, possibly even entirely shut down because their connection to this group. So she takes them and she calls Thatcher and she says, hey, we need to move these 2 people to a secure facility that we can defend and fortify. Tying it in with the gameplay, I see. And they take them to Hereford. Thatcher calls up his boys and says, hey, we need a spot that no one's going to bother us. Can you sort out? And they said, yeah, absolutely. We owe you one. So off they go. And they take a bunch of operators, whether, Clash, Smoke, Sledge, Dockerby, Knock, Goyo, Valk, all sorts of people. And they take them and they prepare. However, someone turns up when they're trying to go through the interrogation and they're sort of trying to ask nicely, but things are starting to go a bit sour. Valk's there, she's been with the CIA for a long time, so she's like, I can get him to talk. And Ash is like, no. And Clash is like, no, we don't do things like that. Tempers are starting to heat up. And Bandit's sort of in the corner, he's just like, oh my God, this is a fucking mess. He's sort of thinking about his undercover experiences and how groups turn on each other, and he's just dreading this entire thing. I like Bandit. That's why he's going to get a focus here. And someone turns up at the gate to Hereford. It's Thatcher. He doesn't have any equipment. He doesn't have any electronics on him, but he's beaten to fuck and he's bleeding everywhere. And he says he needs to talk to Ash now. The Hereford boys know him. They let him in. He comes in, talking to Ash, and they're preparing. They hand out the weapons. They're all ready to go. And he's just like, they're coming. And she's like, when? How long have we got? And he says, right now. Operation, go. And a bunch of people turn and they point the guns at the loyalists. Now those people I mentioned, Echo, Smoke, Sledge, Dockerby, Knock, Goyo, they're all a part of it. And they said, right, nobody move. We're not going to hurt anyone. We're not going to kill you. We're just going to get our 2 and we're going to leave. And that's the end of it. And Ash is furious and Thatcher's like, shut the fuck up. We know what we're doing. You stay out of this. Because they like each other, even though they have sort of professional disagreements on how things are done. That's just Thatcher. Like, he's a professional, but he's frustrated. And we'll get into that why and how as time goes on. But they basically immediately start to set up and booby trap the entire Hereford base. Not the whole base, but sort of like, like the gameplay mission part, Hereford base, the mission. And they say, what's going to happen? You stay here, don't move, and don't trigger any of these traps, please. You're still our friends. We don't want to see you hurt. Just wait, and you know what to do. We'll handle it. And they've got no choice. And off they go. They unbind IQ, they unbind Mute, and that group that I mentioned, they head off, and they're being extracted by helicopter. And what they notice is that the SAS members who are at the base at Hereford get on the second chopper. This was a setup the whole time. The SAS members are loyal to Thatcher. And Ash is kicking herself for not noticing. Now, do you remember when Thatcher went after Pulse? He wasn't going to go get him back. He was recruiting him. When they would when IQ looked at Mute in the workshop, she wasn't suspecting him. That was a glance between collaborators. They worked together. And it's all coming to head. Now, as the helicopter rises and they're about to leave, Thatcher takes one of his EMPs and then drops it down into the building and destroys all of the booby traps so they can leave safely without any bloodshed. And Bandit kind of looks up and he knowingly thinks, yeah, he kind of believed the fact that they didn't want to hurt them because they could have easily just left them there. Is that not only were those people who were a part of that mission defected, but also in the sites around the world, people who were on mission have gone missing, presumed to have joined or been a part of the Reapers this whole time. So why or how were they able to do this? Nighthaven are immediately contacted by these various governments to try and put an end to this group. Even though that they're undoubtedly doing good, that changes when not only are their pocketbooks hurt, not only are the political ambitions hurt, but also, and most importantly, well, well, I guess the pockets probably are the most important part. But what they notice is that they begin to release evidence of all of these operations, of all of the fingers in pies, all of the politics, all of the gamesmanship, all of the ridiculous notions of protecting criminal entities, terrorist entities for their own interest. And they release them. They pretty much fully go Edward Snowden, and they release all of the information, the IDs, and all of their intelligence to the public. And it goes mental. Like, imagine how mad things went when, the whole different, like the Me Too movement, and then everyone was just talking about it, and everyone knew about it, and all of these allegations. Imagine an unprecedented level of politicians, famous people being exposed for being connected with damning evidence. Not even like it's shoddy, where it's just someone said, "Oh yeah, he did it." No, these are satellite surveillances, expensive satellite surveillances. They've got people following. They've got video cameras. They've got unprecedented access, like things that they couldn't use in court, because they've basically snuck into people's homes, installed cameras, but they don't need court because all of these people are dead. They've killed them all. And if they haven't killed them all, they're done. A politician's been exposed for having business interests with a terrorist organization that's been given his son money to go to university. It's a mess, and that can't stand with these organizations and countries, so they contact Nighthaven to do something about it. So, who are the Reapers? Why do they do what they do? And how have they managed to pull this off? So the Reapers were founded with the 4 heads, the 4 horsemen, and an overseeing eye. Now, what do I mean by that? The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: conquest, war, famine, death, and the all-seeing eye. Conquest is Thatcher. Thatcher's reach within the special forces groups of the world cannot be denied. His vast experience as a warfighter and one who's experienced the limitations of politics has been a first-hand experience, whether it be through the authorization of the famous, what was it called, Operation Nimrod? The one where the Iranian embassy, but also a particular one where he was directly involved, where he was not given the authorization to rescue 2 of his friends. That's right, I'm talking about Basra 2005. Thatcher was there for this event. He was there. I've decided it, so it is. And that event would lay the groundwork for his absolute hatred for the powers that be. But as a special forces operator and one loyal to Britain and to his allies, he sat on it for a long time and didn't do anything. But that undercurrent has always been there. War. Qaid. Remember how I said that he was not at that he was doing his own thing and he was left alone? Well, this is why. Qaid was a man who single-handedly recovered his fortress and head of training by expelling massive levels of corruption that were going on. He's hated corruption in all forms ever since he started fighting, and ever since that he's been trying to grow the Moroccan military into something extremely respectable. And he accomplished that with his warfighting school. There was something gnawed away at the old warrior, that he managed to purge that corruption from his group. What if he could do that on a worldwide level? What would it take to be able to make sure that people were fighting for the rights of the world and not the wrongs? He eventually meets Thatcher through their connections of special forces training, and they form a firm friendship, noticing that the 2 very similar souls,
you son of a bitch,
both of whom have strong reservations about the way things are done and the way that things have been done. Famine. Maverick. Remember how I said that Maverick was off doing his own thing and he was the one that found the information about the Reapers? Well, there you go. That's why he did it, because he is one of the Reapers. He's one of the 4 horsemen. Now, we don't know exactly, based on his lore, where Maverick was during the time of the Middle East. We just know that he disappeared and appeared with massive amounts of intelligence that took down a huge terror cell. Where was he in 2005? Basra. That's right, he was there. I'm making it canon. That's where he meets Thatcher for the first time. And it was Maverick's information. If you remember in that story that they attacked the police station, they bust through the wall, they weren't there. They found intelligence that got them to find the other compound. Well, in my story, that interrogation was conducted by Maverick.
Flashback. End of flashback.
And Maverick's unique connections is what makes all of this work, but we'll get into that. And finally, death. Deimos. Deimos returning to the fold after such a massive time away, and he's one that, and part of his current character, has taken massive umbrage, in particular with the character of Harry, who, for my purposes, doesn't really exist. He could exist and just immediately be shot, but, you know, it doesn't matter. But he's always been upset with the way that Team Rainbow went. That he saw that this effective counter-terrorism unit has been turned into sort of like a personal vanity unit for sort of the world powers. And that fundamentally annoys him. And he believes that there's people out there who deserve punishment, but they don't get it. Now, appearing on Maverick's radar, the four become acquainted and things start to come into place. But they've not been looking at this alone. There's been a fifth person, the all-seeing eye. And the reason he's called the all-seeing eye is because it's motherfucking Sam Fisher. That's what it is. Sam Fisher's games, he's been undercover. He's been directly been attacked by the US government. He's been attacked by a rogue intelligence agency. He's been through incredible shit. And he's had to deal with every level of bureaucracy on the planet. Even these missions where they would just outright kill him. If he failed, they would just strike him. That leaves an impression on people that his daughter was endangered multiple times by these people. And it's in that murky grey area of politics and corruption that Sam was able to cut his teeth. Since he sort of stepped away from active operations, he's begun to see these different apparatus. And he's been seeing what he was having to deal with while he was sneaking through, bloody, whatever, total shitholes. The people that were sending him on these missions didn't even know he existed. And they have no idea really the toll it takes on a person. Even someone as cold and as calculated as Sam, it takes a toll. And he said, maybe, just maybe, there's a way that I can make it so that we can come out on top. That the good in the world comes out on top against the evil. The four heads, the four horsemen, and the all-seeing eye. With Sam coming into the picture, things change. Things can get done in an unprecedented way. His level of contacts throughout the world and his level of favours that he can call in is able to take these 5 individuals who've had these ideas through their own personal experience and turn it into something of a reality. To strike out as a cohesive unit, regardless of whom they serve, with the idea that no one is safe. Deimos and Sam are the most active in this respect, in the fact that they are the ones that sort of really feel like justice is a part of it, whereas Thatcher and Cade are more sort of terms, and sort of like the ethical nature, it's like what is good and what is wrong. So there is a sort of tension in there. But really, every single person has a role to play. Sam goes back into the dark worlds of his shadowy work and begins conducting espionage operations to get the proper intelligence into these groups that they've been denied the ability to go after. Thatcher carefully prepares the logistics and capabilities of these secret units on an operational level. Deimos chairs the prosecution, and the prosecution is this sort of mini court. And what they do is they have all this information that they've gathered themselves, usually through the work of Sam or Maverick, which we'll get into. And they put the profiles down, they go over the evidence, and then they have to come to an agreement. It has to be unanimous, and it has to be something that the all-seeing eye looks over. He's sort of like, imagine like the judge. Where in the world do they have this massive drug empire? The Middle East. Where was Maverick this whole time dealing with these people? In the Middle East, that's correct. Now, he's able to essentially, to begin with, skim off the top of these various drug organizations, whether it be through, when you think about like the Taliban or Daesh, ISIS, operating these various drug enterprises and selling them to the various countries, such as traveling them north to Russia, taking them to China, synthetic stuff. He basically looks to infiltrate these groups and begins to replace the people in charge with his people. And the purpose of this is twofold. Number one is to fund the group. And what they're doing is effectively using the funding of their own proceeds to kill the group eventually. So they're losing a little bit of money, more members are dying, losing a bit of money, more members are dying. All of a sudden, they don't control their empire anymore. They're weak, they've got no resources, and they can be picked off one by the Reapers. But here's the problem. They really don't want to just become drug lords, because these people, like I said, ethically, they're fine with killing, but other things like, addiction and horrible things like that, they're not on board with. They don't believe in these concepts of suffering. They believe that justice should be delivered and not something that should be, used purely for the aspect of punishing an individual. So there's more to the plan.
Nanomachine, son.
Now, who they need for this is Mute, IQ, and Thinker. These 3 young scientists of the primary people that they wanted immediately. But there's incredibly good reason for this. Now, this is a super spicy one, and this is actually how they're able to make certain members defect from Team Rainbow. She uses that to help cure her condition, to be able to keep it at bay using, because it's just sort of like I think it's like a spinal or like brain thing where it's going to degrade, but the nanomachines help support, and stop her dying. Pretty cool. But we're going to use that in terms of the drug trade, because to sell this large amount of drugs is incredibly ethically bad. And obviously Maverick is obviously sort of the most, even though Deimos is more sort of the most like bloodthirsty, Maverick's sort of the coldest. He's sort of the most, if anyone was going to actually have a real drug empire, it would be him. But because he's got no interest in sort of money or anything like that, he's relatively safe in that role, if that makes sense, because he's got the others to keep him in check. Now, what they do with these drugs is that when someone dies of opioids, because it's mainly going to be the heroin trade because of the Middle East connection, whether it be through the synthetic lags, with these drugs, they basically kill people. And it's a bit of science here. I'm actually going to use some of my education here. Surprising, I know. It's worth it, Mum. I told you it was worth it. Now, what they're going to do here is that when people die of opioids, it's because the binding sites in their brain are filled by the opioids, and these various sites aren't able to function properly, and that's where their brain just tells them to stop breathing. Their brain, the bit that connects the brain to the heart, doesn't receive a message to pump, and that's when someone effectively overdoses and dies. And that's why when you've got Narcan, stick it in someone's chest, it basically looks to dissolve those sort of opioid receptors, or where the opioids are connecting, and then boom, they're back to life because the brain's like, oh shit, I'm dead, and then it just comes back. Now, we're going to use those nanobots in exactly the same way that they work with her condition. And what they do is not only do they protect those areas to stop people from overdosing, but they also connect to the opioid receptors of the serotonin to make sure that sort of it creates an artificial sense of the high, and that it's not the opioids that are the ones that are able to go in and cause the damage, cause the damage in the liver. They kind of guard these various sites. And they're able to do this by not only triggering these serotonin responses, but also lessening the need for the opioids. So what they could do over time was basically strengthen the opioids, make sure the binding sites work with the nanobots, and then turn down the amount of opioids in the supply. And all of a sudden, you've got people that are being weaned off these hard drugs. Now, they went to Capcan and they told them about this. They who do you think it was that tipped the Reapers off about this crocodile facility? It was Capcan. He knows these people. They've been dying. And he tipped them off, and they said, look, this is what we're doing. This is the plan. We're going to wean people off, and we're going to make it so that these hard drugs aren't killing people in the same way. And we're going to be able to make massive strides in not only world security, but also in world health as well. They contact Doc. Doc's on board. A surprising defection, because you'd think, Doc's being pretty straight-laced. No, he's on board. He sees how valuable this is. And they go to Bandit. He's seen how badly drugs impact people around the world in his undercover work. He's made friends with these criminals that have then died. And they say, look, this is what we're doing. This is the plan. If you join us, we can immediately help to start injecting these sort of the product from, Maverick's facilities to places that have directly been affected by his undercover work. The people that were dying of these drugs. And they've got plans to do it with other drugs as well, whether it be cocaine, whether it be through, other nastiness that people get. And all of a sudden, you've got a massive drug-making empire with the ability to transition into sort of serotonin modulation. The ability to have these sort of safe antidepressants. Effectively, that's what it is. Like, this could change the way people think. But not everyone is on board. Because if you really think about it, the idea of artificially changing the way that someone thinks is quite, it's a bit grey. And the whole point of the Reapers is that every single part of their apparatus works as it does now because of the people who are there. You've got Kaid, you've got Thatcher, you've got Maverick, and you've got Deimos. And each of them, they can't work without the other, and they've got Sam Fisher above all of them, keeping things on track. Now, if just one of these groups, or if just one of these horsemen, or even the corruption of the all-seeing eye, Sam Fisher, if one of these groups crack, it could go horribly wrong. But they let in one person who they really shouldn't have, and that's Fenrir. I think the idea of him basically being kicked out of wanting to experiment with the way that people's emotion change is awesome. I really like that concept. And if there's anyone that's going to do something fucky with this technology and ruin it for everyone, it's that guy. So you don't know. And this is from Ash's perspective as well, because they start to learn about these things. They're pretty open with the way that they've attempted to make people defect. And if they've said no, that's it. But Ash is now at an ethical place where these things are an unalloyed good. She can't really say that they're wrong, but it's the potential for basically horror that could happen if any one of these pillars fails. So how does this go into the gameplay? Here's how. Third echelon are back, okay? Sam Fisher's gone totally rogue, and he's taken a lot of their best agents that are loyal to him with him. Now, the US government, the Russian government, every government in the world is concerned because they're all in shambles. They don't know who's going to get killed next. Everyone's fearing and hiding, and they go to the best scientists, the best AI scientists they can find in the world that have not joined the Reapers, because I'm sure there's some that, have already been teased over. Like, come on, come join our cool new place. We got tattoos and everything. It's great. And they basically think, fuck, we need to figure out a way to kill them. Now, the entire game of Rainbow Six Siege is not Siege, or not the operators fighting. It's the AI deciding how is the best way to kill them all. What do I mean by this? So, you've got attackers, you've got defenders, and you've got these key sites that have been selected for potential places. And this AI is basically trying to figure out what operators are best to kill certain other operators. What would happen if this person defects? What would happen if this person's on this side? And that's why in the game you have people who are on different sides of a conflict fighting together, because it's taking into account that each person could switch sides. So for the purpose of, let's just go for a normal attack and defense. Oregon, you've got defense, you've got Castle, Echo, Clash, people that, Valk, people that I've mentioned, Goyo. Now, 3 of those members are loyalists to Rainbow. 2 of the members are part of the Reapers. This is the condition where it's like, okay, what would happen if 2 of them join the other team, or what if 3 of them join the other team? And then you got the attackers, same way. It could be made, could be any number of people. And it's like, okay, so how does this person's details, how does this person's data conform to how they would be killed best? And we're going to use the actual statistics from the game so that this AI's learned that it's better to defend. So if they are going to try and push the final confrontation between Rainbow and the final confrontation between the Reapers, they would ideally want to be on defense. So they would need to goad the Reapers into attacking them. And that's how, that's why you explain sort of why the games always go on and nothing sort of story-wise happens, because it's just a multiplayer game. But it's not a game, it's an AI. And that, I think, is kind of cool. Because that's where you can literally just describe away why there's been reworks, why there's updates. It's the conditions of the simulation have been altered by the people running it. And they're like, okay, well, maybe the AI is better than the shotgun here. So, knock down the shotgun's damage by a little bit in the simulation to try and better reflect how we think it would play out. You see? It kind of makes sense in a weird way. And, if there's an operator that has a rework, That's not just an arbitrary saying, okay, the players didn't like it, or it's ineffective and it was shit, or it's too powerful. No, it's realistic and it's updated data from what they've seen in the field. I.e., Tachanka was using a machine gun for a long time. And then they've got new data, they've got new footage, they've got new surveillance that sees him using his fiery grenade launcher instead. So they've gone into the game and they've changed it. And they've changed the AI and they're continually running this situation. Make sense? So the entire game is an AI about killing Team Rainbow. I think that's kind of cool. Honestly, I wrote it, so I think that. But that's the concept. And that's how you push the story, in that you have this AI continually running as new operators emerge, new changes, new events happen, so new maps are added, where all of this data is being compiled and compiled and compiled, and us, the players, are AI. We are part of the simulation, independently making decisions to try and make the siege work, to try and figure out, well, who should attack, what map, what place should they attack, where should the bomb site be, who's best to have the bomb, what in loadout should we send the operators on, so when the time comes, they'll come out on top. But do you think the Reapers are going to let that happen like that? Do you think Team Rainbow is going to let that happen? Who knows? That's the idea. Who knows? So thank you, everyone, for bearing with me, and I hope I've tried to make it as entertaining as possible. And that's been my version of how Rainbow Six lore should be. Thank you. Bye.